The stars looked cold and distant from Admiral Xal's command bridge. He stood tall, his gray skin reflecting the blue lights of the control panels. His four eyes blinked slowly as he watched the battle map. Another red dot appeared. Another world lost. "Sir, Outpost Delta has fallen," said Officer Mira, her voice shaking. "The Vex destroy our defenses in less than an hour." Xal's heart sank. This was the fifth outpost lost this week. The Galactic Alliance had stood strong for over 3,000 years. 27 different alien species had lived together in peace. Now, all of it was crumbling under the Vex attack. "How many ships did we lose?" Xal asked. 37, sir. No survivors." The command room fell silent. The Vex had appeared 6 months ago from the far reaches of the galaxy. No one knew where they came from or why they attacked. They just destroyed everything in their path. Xal walked to the large window and looked out at the stars. His home planet was out there somewhere. Would it be next? "Their ships use some kind of energy field that makes our weapons useless," said Commander Zorn, the chief science officer. His thin fingers moved quickly over the data screen. "We hit them with everything we have, but they keep coming." "What about the new shield technology from the Bracari?" Xal asked. "Failed, sir. The Vex adapted to it in minutes." Xal closed his eyes. The Alliance was losing. At this rate, they had maybe 6 months before the Vex reached the core worlds. Billions would die. "Sir," said Officer Mira, "the Council is waiting for your report. Tell them I need more time." "They say there is no more time. We need a new strategy now." Xal looked at the star map again. His gaze stopped on a small yellow star at the edge of Alliance space. It was a system they had been watching for years but never contacted. The beings there had only recently discovered space travel. "What about the humans?" Xal asked suddenly. The room went quiet again. Everyone turned to look at him. "The humans, sir?" Commander Zorn asked. "They're centuries behind our technology. They've barely left their own planet." "Yes, but they think differently," Xal said. "I've studied their history. They survived disasters, wars, and near extinction many times. They always find a way to survive against impossible odds." "But sir, they don't even know other life exists in the galaxy," said Officer Mira. "Then it's time we tell them," Xal replied. "Prepare a ship. I will go to Earth myself." "Admiral, with all respect, this is not wise," said Commander Zorn. "They are primitive and violent. They might see us as a threat. We are all going to die if we don't try something new," Xal said firmly. "The Vex are unlike anything we've faced before. Maybe we need help from someone unlike anyone in the Alliance." Xal walked back to the star map and enlarged the image of Earth, a blue and green planet with white clouds swirling across its surface, the home of humans. "The Council will never approve this," Mira said quietly. "Then I won't tell them until after I've gone," Xal replied. "Sometimes breaking the rules is the only way forward. Prepare the fastest ship we have. We leave in 6 hours." As the crew rushed to follow his orders, Xal continued staring at the image of Earth. The Alliance had always seen humans as too young and too dangerous to join the galactic community. But now, those same qualities might be exactly what they needed. Defeat seemed certain, but maybe, just maybe, the humans would change that. Jack Miller floated inside the International Space Station, checking systems and recording data. It was Tuesday, just another normal day in space. Earth spun slowly below him, peaceful and blue. "Houston, all systems are normal," Jack said into his radio. "Beginning the plant growth experiment in 5 minutes." "Copy that, ISS," came the reply from Mission Control. "We're receiving your data now." Jack pushed himself toward the science module when a bright flash of light outside the window caught his eye. He turned and froze. A massive ship had appeared out of nowhere, just 50 meters from the space station. It was sleek and silver, at least 10 times larger than the ISS. Strange blue lights pulsed along its hull. "Houston," Jack said, his voice shaking. "We have a situation here. There's a ship outside our window." "Say again." "ISS." "What kind of ship?" Jack swallowed hard. "Not one of ours. Not Russian, not Chinese. I think it's not from Earth." Silence filled the radio for several seconds. "Stand by." "ISS," Houston finally replied, their voice tense. "We're tracking an unknown object near your position." The alien ship moved closer to the station. Jack watched as a beam of light shot out from the ship and scanned the ISS. His heart pounded in his chest. Was this how humanity would end? Then a voice came through all the station's speakers at once. It spoke perfect English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Admiral Xal of the Galactic Alliance. We come in peace and with great urgency. Our civilization needs your help." Within 6 hours, the news had spread across the entire planet. Alien ships appeared over major cities, broadcasting the same message in all languages. World leaders gathered in an emergency United Nations meeting as Admiral Xal's ship landed in a field outside New York. President Samantha Powell watched nervously as the ship's door opened. A tall, gray-skinned being with 4 eyes walked out, surrounded by strange creatures of different shapes and sizes. They walked slowly toward the human delegation. "Welcome to Earth," President Powell said, her voice steady despite her fear. "I speak for humanity when I say we are shocked but honored by your visit." Admiral Xal bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, President Powell. I only wish our meeting could happen in better times." Inside the United Nations building, Xal showed the world leaders images of the Vex attacks. Ships bigger than cities destroying entire planets. Billions of lives lost across dozens of worlds. "The Vex appeared 1 year ago," Xal explained. "They use technology we cannot defend against. They have destroyed 1/3 of Alliance space already." "Why come to us?" asked Director Olivia Ward of NASA. "Your ships can travel between stars in minutes. Your technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. What can we possibly offer?" Xal's 4 eyes blinked slowly, something the Alliance has lost over the centuries. Creativity. Unpredictability. The will to fight when all hope seems lost. He showed more images. Alliance warships exploding against Vex defenses. Entire fleets destroyed without landing a single hit. "Our civilization has been at peace for too long," Xal continued. "We follow patterns and protocols. The Vex learn these patterns and defeat us easily. But humans are different. Your history is filled with impossible victories against superior forces. You find solutions where none should exist." President Powell stood up. "If these Vex reach Earth, what happens to us?" "Total destruction," Xal said simply. "They show no mercy. They take no prisoners. They simply destroy." The room fell silent. "We offer a trade," Xal continued. "We will share our technology with you. In return, we need your strategic minds, your creative thinking, your human unpredictability." President Powell looked around at the other world leaders. They all nodded slowly. "Admiral Xal," she said, "humanity accepts your offer. Together, we will find a way to defeat the Vex." Jack Miller, watching the broadcast from the space station, felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. Humanity had just joined a galactic war, and somehow they were supposed to help win it. 3 months passed quickly. Earth changed more in those months than in the last century. Alliance technology appeared in every major city. Alien ships became a common sight in the sky. Humans learned about life beyond their planet, and the galaxy learned about humanity. Dr. Alan Reeves stepped off the Alliance transport ship onto the surface of Tyranny Prime, the main planet of the Galactic Alliance. Behind him came Major Grace Johnson and 50 other humans chosen for their unique skills. They were soldiers, scientists, engineers, and even a few artists and game designers. The alien city stretched to the horizon. Tall, crystal buildings reached into the clouds. Flying vehicles zipped between them. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the streets. "It's like something from a dream," Alan whispered. "Or a nightmare, depending on what happens next," Grace replied quietly. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth. Now she faced an enemy that destroyed entire planets. They entered the Alliance Council chamber, a massive round room, with seats for representatives from all 27 species. The aliens looked at the humans with doubt in their eyes, or whatever they had instead of eyes. Admiral Xol stood to speak. "Honored council members, I present the human delegation from Earth. They have studied our war with the Vex and believe they can help us." A tall, blue-skinned alien stood up. "These creatures have barely left their own planet. Their technology is primitive. Their lifespans are short. How can they possibly help us defeat the Vex?" Alan stepped forward. The translator device at his neck would change his words into sounds all aliens could understand. "Council members," he began, "we've spent 3 months studying your shield technology and the Vex disruption waves. We believe we found a weakness." He showed them data on a large screen. Numbers and diagrams appeared that even some council members couldn't fully understand. "Your shields try to block the Vex energy waves," Alan explained. "But the Vex simply increase their power until they break through. What if, instead of blocking, we do something unexpected? What if we amplify their signals?" Confused murmurs filled the room. "Amplify?" asked a small green alien. "That would cause our shields to fail completely." "Yes," Alan nodded. "But it would also create a feedback loop in their own systems. Their weapons would turn against them." The council didn't look convinced. Many shook their heads or made sounds of disapproval. That's when Ryan Foster stepped forward. Unlike the others, Ryan wasn't a scientist or military leader. He was a construction worker who had been chosen for his practical thinking. "Look," Ryan said, speaking slowly so the translator could keep up. "Where I come from, we have a saying. Sometimes the simplest solution is best. You're all trying to fight the Vex with fancy energy shields and complex weapons." He picked up a small metal ball from the table and held it up. "But what about just throwing a rock through their window? Your ships are built to withstand energy attacks. The Vex expect that. But what if we just ram them? Hit them with physical objects they can't disrupt with their energy weapons?" The council chamber went completely silent. The idea was so simple, so primitive, that none of the Alliance species had considered it. They had moved beyond physical weapons centuries ago. Major Johnson smiled. "On Earth, we learned that sometimes you have to go backward to move forward. The Vex expect you to fight in certain ways. We need to do what they don't expect." For the first time, the council members looked at the humans with new interest. Perhaps these strange creatures from Earth had something valuable to offer after all. "Tell us more," Admiral Xol said, his 4 eyes blinking with hope for the first time in months. The Alliance Manufacturing Center on Terrani Prime had not created new weapons in over 500 years. Now it buzzed with activity day and night. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building something the galaxy had never seen before. Ryan Foster wiped sweat from his forehead as he looked at the massive kinetic launcher attached to an Alliance warship. The device was simple by alien standards. It would throw large metal objects at extremely high speeds. But against the Vex, it might be exactly what they needed. "Will it work?" Admiral Xol asked, standing behind Ryan. "In theory, yes," Ryan replied. "The Vex can stop energy weapons with their disruption fields. But they can't stop a solid chunk of metal moving at half the speed of light. Physics won't allow it." Across the facility, Dr. Alan Reeves worked with Alliance scientists to modify shield generators. Instead of blocking Vex disruption waves, the new shields would catch them, amplify them, and send them back. The feedback should overload their systems. Alan explained to the alien engineers, "It's like shouting into a microphone that's connected to a speaker. The sound gets louder and louder until something breaks." But the most surprising contribution came from Susan Clark, a video game designer from Seattle. The Alliance combat training programs were perfect and predictable, just like their battle strategies. Susan changed that. Your pilots need to learn to think on their feet, she told the alien commanders as she rewrote their training simulations. The Vex adapt to patterns, so we need to be unpredictable. Meanwhile, the Vex continued their advance through Alliance space. A massive battle at Helion Prime bought valuable time but at great cost. Half the Alliance fleet was destroyed. We lost 63 ships, Commander Zorn reported grimly. But we delayed the Vex advance by 2 weeks. That gives us more time to prepare our new weapons. Back on Earth, factories worked day and night, building components for the new Alliance human hybrid ships. The first vessel, named Defiance, rose from the shipyard in orbit around the moon. It looked like an Alliance cruiser, but was filled with human-designed weapons and systems. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking at his crew, a mix of humans and aliens working at stations throughout the ship. They had trained together for months, learning to combine Alliance technology with human tactics. The Vex have never faced anything like this ship, Daniel told his crew. They expect Alliance vessels to behave in certain ways. We won't do that. We'll be unpredictable. We'll be human. The alien crew members looked uncertain, but they trusted their captain. They had seen enough of humans to know that their strange ideas sometimes worked. Captain, said the communications officer, Admiral Xal is contacting all ships. The Vex have been detected entering the Taurus minor system. That's where we'll make our stand. Daniel nodded. Tell all crew to prepare for light jump. We leave in 30 minutes. As the crew rushed to their stations, Lieutenant Fricks, the alien second in command, approached Daniel. Captain, do you believe we can win? Fricks asked quietly. Daniel looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vex were destroying worlds, thinking their victory was certain. The Vex have never fought humans before, Daniel replied. They don't know what we're capable of when our backs are against the wall. Yes, Lieutenant, I believe we can win. We have to. Throughout the ship, humans and aliens made final preparations. The Defiance would lead a fleet of 50 ships to Taurus Minor. It would be the first real test of their new weapons and tactics. If they failed, there would be little hope for Earth or the Alliance. The fate of 2 civilizations now rested on a simple question. Could human ingenuity defeat the most powerful enemy the galaxy had ever known? The Taurus Minor system was quiet. 3 yellow suns shone on empty planets. Once, millions of aliens had lived here. Now they were gone, evacuated before the Vex arrived. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance. His ship and 49 others waited behind a large moon. Their engines were silent. They were hunting. Vex ships entering the system, said Lieutenant Fricks, looking at the scanner. 5 large carriers and 20 smaller attack ships. Daniel nodded. Right on time. They're so predictable. The human Alliance fleet had placed sensor buoys throughout the system. They could track the Vex without revealing their own position. This was the first rule of human warfare that had surprised the Alliance. Sometimes hiding is better than showing your strength. The Vex are heading toward the 3rd planet, Fricks reported. They're following their usual pattern. They'll set up mining operations there first, then spread through the system. Daniel smiled. Perfect. That's exactly where we want them. He pressed a button on his chair. All ships, this is Captain Hayes. Remember your training. Stay hidden until my signal. Then hit them hard and fast. Don't give them time to adapt. The fleet waited as the Vex ships moved into position around the 3rd planet. The enemy had no idea they were being watched. They're deploying their disruption fields, Fricks said. Standard Vex procedure. Now, Daniel ordered. All ships, activate reflection amplifiers. Across the human Alliance fleet, the new shield technology powered up. Instead of creating defensive barriers, the ships began absorbing the Vex disruption waves and amplifying them. Vex ships are showing energy fluctuations, said the tactical officer. Their disruption fields are becoming unstable. Launch kinetic projectiles, Daniel commanded. Full spread. The Defiance shuddered as its new weapons fired. Massive metal rods shot out at incredible speeds. The other Alliance ships fired too. Hundreds of projectiles streaked toward the Vex fleet. On the view screen, Daniel watched as the simple weapons hit their targets. The Vex had no defenses against physical objects moving so fast. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid metal. The first Vex carrier exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. The smaller ships tried to regroup, but they were confused. Their disruption fields were failing because of the reflection amplifiers. "It's working," Fricks shouted, forgetting alien military protocol in his excitement. "Don't celebrate yet," Daniel warned. "They'll adapt. That's what they do." All ships changed to attack pattern Omega. The Alliance fleet split into 3 groups, each attacking from a different angle. This was another human tactic: never be predictable, never do the same thing twice. The Vex tried to counterattack, but their weapons were designed to fight traditional Alliance ships. The human modifications made the fleet behave in ways the Vex couldn't predict. 2 hours later, it was over. The entire Vex force had been destroyed. The human Alliance fleet had lost only 3 ships. "Send the battle data to Alliance Command," Daniel ordered. "They need to see that the Vex can be beaten." As the Defiance prepared to jump to light speed, a message came from Admiral Xal. "Captain Hayes, the Council has received your battle report. For the first time in this war, we have hope. Your victory at Taurus Minor has proven that the Vex are not invincible." Daniel looked around at his crew, humans and aliens working together. "This was just the beginning, Admiral. Now we take the fight to them." Across Alliance space, the news spread quickly. The unstoppable Vex had been stopped. The tide of the war was turning, all because a primitive species called humans had joined the fight. In the darkness of space, the Vex Imperium faced something new, an enemy they couldn't predict. And for the first time, they knew fear. 6 weeks after the victory at Taurus Minor, the Alliance was ready. 300 ships gathered near the edge of Vex-controlled space. Each vessel carried the new human-designed weapons and shields. Their crews had trained in unpredictable tactics and quick thinking. On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Xal addressed the fleet commanders. Human and alien officers stood side by side in the large meeting room. "Today we take back what is ours," Xal said. "Thanks to our human allies, we now have the weapons and strategies to defeat the Vex. Each battle group will use different tactics. The Vex must never know what to expect." Major Grace Johnson stepped forward. She had been promoted to Commander of Tactical Operations for the entire Alliance fleet. "The Vex operate like a hive mind," she explained. "They learn and adapt as one. But this is also their weakness. They expect patterns. They expect their enemies to behave in logical ways." She activated a holographic display showing the Vex-controlled territory. "We will attack at 12 different points simultaneously. Each battle group will use completely different tactics. The Vex won't be able to adapt to all of them at once." Keith Bennett, a former oil rig engineer from Texas, had contributed one of the most important new weapons. He called them depth charges, devices that could be dropped into the quantum fields the Vex used to communicate. When activated, they disrupted the Vex-hive mind connection. Without their connection to each other, they can't coordinate their attacks, Keith explained. They become confused, like cutting the head off a snake. As the meeting ended, Admiral Xal approached Captain Daniel Hayes. The Defiance had become the most famous ship in the Alliance after its victory at Taurus Minor. "Your ship will lead the attack on Proxima Centauri," Xal said. "It's a key Vex stronghold. If we can take it back, we open a direct path to their main fleet." Daniel nodded. "We won't let you down, Admiral." The next day, the counteroffensive began. Alliance ships jumped into Vex-controlled systems across a front spanning thousands of light years. The Vex, used to being the hunters, suddenly found themselves hunted. In the Rigel system, Alliance ships used Keith's depth charges to confuse the Vex fleet, then destroyed them with kinetic weapons. At Din of IV, human pilots flew small fighters in attack patterns based on Earth insects. They swarmed around the larger Vex ships, attacking from all directions at once. The Defiance led the assault on Proxima Centauri. Daniel ordered his ships to use a tactic from ancient Earth naval warfare, crossing the T. The Alliance fleet positioned itself so all ships could fire on the Vex, while the enemy could only use their forward weapons. "They're trying to adapt," shouted Lieutenant Fricks as the Vex ships changed formation. "They're splitting up to surround us." "That's exactly what I wanted," Daniel smiled. "All ships activate reflection amplifiers at maximum power." The Vex concentrated their disruption fields on the Alliance fleet, but instead of damaging the Alliance ships, the energy was reflected back, amplified 100 times. The feedback loop overloaded the Vex systems. "Fire all kinetic weapons," Daniel ordered. The space around Proxima Centauri lit up with explosions as Vex ships were torn apart by the simple but effective weapons. On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Xol and Eric Young, a human communications officer, watched as reports came in from across the front. "The Vex are retreating from the Sirius system," Eric announced. "Their main fleet is falling back from Proxima Centauri," another officer reported. "They're running," Kill said, his voice filled with wonder. "For the first time since this war began, the Vex are running from us." Eric nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying: the bigger they are, the harder they fall." Across Alliance space, the news spread quickly. The unstoppable enemy was being stopped. The impossible war was being won. And it was all because of humans, a species the galaxy had once considered too primitive to join the Alliance. 1 year after Admiral Xol's ship first appeared above Earth, representatives from all 28 species gathered on Helion Prime. The once damaged planet had been rebuilt and now served as the symbol of victory. The Vex had been pushed back to their original borders, and peace talks had begun. Captain Daniel Hayes stood in his dress uniform, looking out over the grand hall filled with aliens and humans. A year ago, he had been commanding the International Space Station. Now he was a hero in a galactic war. "Hard to believe it's over," said Lieutenant Fricks, standing beside him. "Not over," Daniel replied. "Just changing. The galaxy will never be the same." On the main stage, President Samantha Powell of Earth and Admiral Xol stood side by side. Behind them were the leaders of all Alliance worlds. "Today, we celebrate more than victory," Xol announced to the crowd. "We celebrate a new beginning. For thousands of years, the Alliance grew comfortable. We became predictable. We forgot the value of innovation and adaptability." President Powell stepped forward. "And for thousands of years, humans fought and struggled on a single planet, dreaming of the stars. We never knew we had qualities that would one day save a galaxy." The formal treaty was signed, marking Earth's official entry into the Galactic Alliance. Humans would share their creativity and unique perspectives. The Alliance would share their technology and knowledge. After the ceremony, Daniel found himself talking with Ryan Foster, the construction worker whose simple idea about kinetic weapons had changed the course of the war. "What happens now?" Ryan asked. "Do we go back to Earth?" "Some will," Daniel said. "Others are already joining Alliance crews. Scientists are working together on new technologies. Artists are sharing ideas. This is just the beginning." Across the hall, Dr. Alan Reeves was speaking with alien scientists about new shields that combined human creativity with Alliance technology. Susan Clark, the game designer, had been put in charge of creating training programs for the entire Alliance military. Admiral Xol approached Daniel and Ryan. The alien commander looked tired but happy. "The Council has a request," Xol said. "We want the Defiance to become a permanent ambassadorship. Half human crew, half Alliance, a symbol of our new partnership." Daniel smiled. "I'd be honored to continue as captain." "The Vex have gone quiet for now." Xol continued, but they're still out there. And there are other dangers in the galaxy. We'll need humans by our side for whatever comes next. That evening, Daniel stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, watching the celebration lights on Helion Prime. Lieutenant Fricks joined him. Do you think the peace will last? Fricks asked. Daniel thought for a moment. Nothing lasts forever, but whatever comes next, we'll face it together. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vex were licking their wounds, perhaps planning their next move. But they had learned a valuable lesson. Technological superiority wasn't enough. The Vex had never expected to face an enemy like humans. You know, Daniel said, the Vex made one big mistake. What was that? Asked Fricks. They thought victory was certain. But in human history, we've learned that nothing is certain, especially defeat. Across Alliance space, a new saying began to spread among alien species. May your enemies never discover Earth. It was both a joke and a serious warning. Humans had proven themselves to be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because of their technology, but because of their minds. As the Defiance prepared to depart on its first official mission, Daniel gave the order to engage the engines. Human and alien crew worked side by side as the ship rose from Helion Prime and turned toward the stars. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.